Do you want to go from a band 4 or 5 in your IELTS exam to a band 7 or higher? Do you want to access the dream university of your choice to go abroad and study for a year abroad, but you need a 6.5 or a 7 and you're not quite there yet? This is the class for you. Hi, my name's Matthew, an English language coach, and today I'm going to go over the essential things that you need to focus on to get a band 7 and higher in your IELTS exam. So come with me and let's dive into the topic right now. Welcome to the IELTS Fluency Training course, where I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to go from a band 5 to a band 7 plus in your IELTS exam. If you're a non-native English speaker and you're looking to improve from lower intermediate to advanced speaker in English and you want to become confident in your English communication, then this is the course for you. Today I'm going to show you the 6-step strategy that I teach all my students on how to improve from lower intermediate to an advanced student and become a band 7, 8 or even 9 in the IELTS exam. The IELTS exam is basically a game. You have to learn the rules of the game, you have to practice for the game, and you have to perform on game day. And if you do all of these 3 steps, you're going to be ready to get the best band score of your dreams. This is an overview of what you need to do to improve your IELTS speaking band score. We're going to dive into this IELTS speaking 6-step process to improve your band score in the IELTS speaking exam. By understanding these 6 steps, you're going to be able to master the speaking part of the exam. So as you can see here, you need to choose a training method that includes these 6 steps. So your training method that you choose will be critical to make the most improvement and get the most value from the time you spend in English. You need to have an effective method to improve your IELTS band score. You're not just trying to improve your English language learning in general, you're trying to pass an exam. You're trying to get the best band score possible based on the criteria of this exam. So that means you need to know what are the rules, what are the most important areas for you to improve to train effectively and efficiently to get a great band score in the exam. So that's why I'm going to break down these 6 steps, and after you've learned them, you're going to know exactly how to train effectively for your exam. So the main 4 areas that you're going to be assessed on exam day are, as you can see below, your pronunciation, your grammar, your fluency and coherence, and your lexical resource. This is exactly what the examiner is looking for to give you your IELTS band score, and in each of these criteria, you need to score highly to be able to get a band 7, 8 or 9. And you're going to need to know exactly how to train those skills to be able to move from a band 4 or 5 to a band 7 and above. So let's dive into the first one, as you can see, is pronunciation. Improving your pronunciation is essential to be able to communicate clearly in English. One of the biggest mistakes lower intermediate students make is they completely ignore the training of their pronunciation. It's not taught in traditional classrooms, it's not a focus of traditional education systems, and you're understandably not paying attention to this aspect of your performance. But since it is part of the criteria, you need to dive into pronunciation and eliminate any bad speaking pronunciation habits you might have learned along the way. Since this is not something that you've learned how to do, it's common that there's lots of issues in your pronunciation, and that is going to lower your overall band score. So we need to eliminate those problems as soon as possible and become confident using good pronunciation habits like a native speaker. So one of the most common mistakes is that intermediate speakers have learned bad habits, or they've never truly learned how to use their mouth to produce sounds like a native speaker in English, which means you should analyze the base of your pronunciation to be able to improve it and make sure that there's no sounds in the consonants and the vowels at the base of your pronunciation that are causing you any major problems. Have a quick assessment and understand if any of these areas are causing you to be unclear in how you speak English. I have an absolutely free 5-day pronunciation challenge that you're absolutely welcome to join. Click the link in the description, join the challenge, and all the information there on how you can improve your British English accent in just 5 days is going to be there for you. So you can check that out, enjoy that, it's completely free. Step number 1 is eliminate those basic errors in your pronunciation, identify any areas of weakness and resolve them. Step 2 is that you might have an issue with being monotonous in English, that you don't understand how to speak with rhythm. This is very common in IELTS speakers that are non-native because they don't really understand the stress patterns of the language, which cause you to have the rhythm and the music in your speaking to make you sound natural and like a native speaker. So the step 2 is to analyze if you understand intonation, stress patterns, and stress in a sentence to make sure that you're able to communicate fluently with the music of English speaking. So you can avoid that robotic and flat sounding English that would bore anyone and make them fall asleep. So in the short term, focus on fixing any major sounds that you don't know how to produce in the English language. And step 2, begin to adapt your English speaking to sound more like a native speaker by understanding intonation and stress patterns alongside connected speech. And once you understand these things, you'll be able to have a fluent, clear pronunciation in English, which is key to getting a band 7 and above. One of the common mistakes that my students make is they use the technique of shadowing, but they don't know exactly how to use it effectively. Shadowing is a fantastic way to improve the musicality of your English, but make sure you're not making this mistake. Check out the video at the end of the course. Step 2, we're into the grammar. How do we fix our foundation? The majority of students that come to me have major issues with the foundation of their English grammar. They have a lot of errors, a lot of bad habits, and they don't know how to fix their foundation, so their English speaking feels very unstable. So when they're speaking, they don't sound confident and clear, but instead they feel like they're unsure of what they're trying to communicate. That's because there's holes in their foundation and they need to fix them before they can feel strong and confident talking about any topic in the IELTS exam. One of the major problems for a band 4 or band 5 is they don't understand how to create complex sentences, simple sentences, and compound sentences. These are the 3 skills that you need to have to be able to get a band 7 and above, and you need to know how to implement these skills. They tend to use just simple grammar structures and often even incorrectly. And this is majorly important. If you want to get a band 7 and above, then the marking criteria for the category of grammar will not permit that if you are making fundamental mistakes over and over again in your grammatical structures. So if you want to get that higher band score, identify your issues in the foundation of the grammar and fix them immediately. Step number 2 is identify the intermediate structures of your language house. Imagine it's like your walls, the roof, and the internal beams of your house are the if conditionals, the present perfect, the important grammar at the intermediate level that tells the examiner you are a band 7 and above student and allows them to give you a higher mark in the category of grammar, which will allow you to get an overall higher band score. So it's really important that you develop the intermediate skills on top of a solid foundation of the basic skills of grammar in English. Moving on to step number 3, which is fluency and coherence. If you want to improve your English speaking skills, one of the areas of the marking criteria will be on fluency and cohesion. It's all about keeping your speech smooth and flowing, whilst also using logical structures to connect your ideas. One of the most common errors a band 4 or band 5 student has is that they don't have this fluency to their speech. It ends up choppy and hesitant, and they struggle to think of the next thought or the next idea or how to connect it to the last one. So that's why understanding how to speak smoothly is extremely important in the fluency category of your mark. On top of that, you need to add linkers and connectors into your ability to connect your ideas to make sure that you're using a variety of intermediate and advanced movements so that you can sound like a native speaker as you go through your ideas logically, clearly, and smoothly. So one of the first things you should do for the short term is implement a daily practice of speaking out loud in English and record yourself. Make sure you're able to speak out loud and record yourself. This allows you to review and check your progress as you move forward and make it a fun and exciting habit, something that you enjoy doing. And don't tell me you don't have any time, because of course you have 5 minutes a day. Whether you're on the toilet, whether you're waiting for a bus, everyone has 5 minutes a day to practice daily. Make it a habit and make it consistent. That's the best way to improve your fluency. And to improve your coherence, you need to understand exactly how to link ideas in English. You can download my free PDF, which covers all the connectors in English and formal speech, and get using them immediately to develop great speech patterns for your IELTS exam. Number 4, we're moving on to a lexical resource. The lexical resource is extremely important. And no, it is not memorizing long lists of vocabulary. And no, it is not learning that one word in English as a basic level and the other one is an IELTS word, random adjectives, and that you don't know how to apply in context. Lexical vocabulary covers a whole range of ideas, of native expressions, collocations, phrasal verbs, native ways to express themselves idiomatically, and lots of other things to improve your lexical resource. So don't fall into the trap of memorizing long lists of vocabulary. Understand context is king, and understanding how to produce your answers based on IELTS examples around a native speaking pattern is extremely important to get a higher band level. It's not because you memorized a slightly more advanced adjective that you get a band 7, 8, or 9. Your entire package of lexical resource has to be a high level to be able to get such band scores. So, the common error that band 5 students make is they rely on a basic vocabulary, a simplistic vocabulary, and the other skill that they don't develop is they don't know how to paraphrase. In the exam, it's absolutely okay if every now and again you come across a word where you don't know the specific word. As long as you develop the skill of paraphrasing, which means saying this word in another words in English, which is saying this word with other words in English, using synonyms and antonyms and other ways to express the same idea, you'll also get given higher marks based on your ability to paraphrase. So that is a long-term skill that you should start developing immediately. When you come across a word that you don't know, try to explain it in English in another way. This is going to force you to think outside the box, also develop the skills of using synonyms and antonyms, and later on you'll develop the skill of identifying those vocabulary words that you didn't quite know yet. So you win in every single area if you try to paraphrase. Make that an essential skill that you work on for lexical resource. When you're looking to improve your IELTS lexical resource, you should be using spaced repetition systems. I like to recommend Brainscape. It's completely free. I'll probably leave a link in the description below for you to download it. It's an app and it uses spaced repetition, which is up-to-date neurotechnology, which allows you to memorize and remember words more effectively, which means the amount of time and energy you're putting into your learning of English is going to be most effective because you're using the most effective tools to train the brain from moving short-term information to long-term information. Another essential skill in lexical resource is realizing that it's not just adjectives that you need to improve. It's verbs, phrasal verbs, collocations, noun phrases, all sorts of areas of English language learning that will help you to improve your lexical resource. So focus on all these areas plus paraphrasing to improve this aspect of the exam. These are the 4 critical areas of the IELTS marking scheme, which will be essential for you to improve your band score in the IELTS exam. Pay attention to these absolutely. The other one is step number 5, which is mindset training. This is something completely ignored by traditional education systems and methods, and it's actually something I believe is fundamental to getting a high band score. If you go to the exam nervous, stressed, and completely anxious, what happens to your brain? It shrinks. It turns into a fight or flight response, and it doesn't remember all the advanced phrases and expressions that you've been practicing for months. Why? Because when the brain enters this physiological state of fight or flight, then your brain completely shuts down all high-level thinking and you're no longer able to access the amount of vocabulary you've been practicing, and it shrinks down into a tiny amount. So you go to the exam, you spend a lot of money, you train hard, you're nervous, you've practiced, and you go to the exam and zoop, your performance remains at band 5 or band 6 level because your brain has not learned how to relax, access higher level thinking under exam stresses. If you're interested to know exactly how to train effectively for the IELTS exam, I made another video that I will show you in the link below to check out exactly how to train effectively for the speaking exam. I go into detail on all these areas, but the mindset training is going to identify the psychological fears and the physiological fears and how to overcome them. These two are essential for your mindset training to identify limiting beliefs, negative self-talk, and be able to overcome all of these areas to perform confidently and calmly in the exam. So if you want to sound smooth on exam day, you have to train effectively. Check out the other video if you want to know exactly how I teach my students how to perform to the best of their ability on game day. Step 6 is expert feedback and tracking. It's super important that you get expert feedback on where you are now, an assessment to find out exactly what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how are you going to improve from band 4, band 5 and get to band 7. You need to know specifically, personally, what are your weaknesses, what are your strengths and what are your opportunities. So I recommend performing a SWOT analysis on your own skill set and provide the information that you need to improve your skills. Everyone, even though they're at a similar stage, will have different weaknesses and strengths that they should work on to be able to improve as quickly as possible for speaking fluency. So assess where you are, find out exactly what are the steps for you to arrive to band 7 and what are the skills and information you need to know to get to band number 7. That's why I recommend when you're practicing, you make sure you always review, whether that's recording yourself, to make sure you can go back and see which areas you're learning effectively and which areas you are not. This is going to be so helpful in improving quickly, is this feedback loop of perform the activity, learn the information that you don't know, perform the activity with the new information, review and test, and then repeat the process. This is the way to get the feedback loop of helping you improve quickly. Awesome. That's the end of the IELTS 6 steps from band 5 to band 7. I hope this information has been extremely helpful and I'll see you in the next lesson. Keep it smooth.